What's up guys, and thanks for joining me. If you're new to my channel and haven't yet watched my original review of the first series of The Slayers, you can watch it here. And if you haven't watched the unboxing of this series, you can watch it here. So this is going to be an actual review video. What's that? I do reviews now? Better get the hat on. Let's do this. So 11 years after Slayer's Try was released, we are reunited with Lena, Gowry, Emilia, and Zelgadis for a new adventure. There are some new faces here, but also a few old ones like Prince Phil, Zelos, and Silphiel that have rejoined our team for a new adventure. So with this review, I'm going to break it down into 4 different topics, which are plot and characters, animation, the dub, and my overall feel about the series. So let's start off with plot and characters. So similar to the previous 3 seasons of The Slayers, the 2 new seasons are different naming, but it is one consistent plot line throughout. So the series starts off with Lena being arrested for the crime of being Lena Inverse. And just from the beginning, I could tell that this series was going to have a different feel to it than the previous 3. At the end of the first series of Slayers and then into Slayers Next, you could sort of feel like this grand build-up and such a deep backstory, and I sort of felt after the beginning of the Slayers Revolution that I wasn't going to get that out of this, and you're probably not. So we start off by getting introduced to one of the new main characters, whose name is Pokota, and he is a little stuffed animal. So the whole series is pretty much devoted to him and his personal quest to revive his kingdom, which fell under a plague and then was sealed away by Rezo. Yes, people, Rezo is back. Somehow, apparently he did not die. What happened was his soul was sealed up in something called a Hellmaster's jar, which protected him from leaving this astral plane. And the second series, Slayers Evolution R, will deal with that. But to continue along with the first season, we pretty much follow Lena, her gang, and Pokota as they are trying to understand what's going on with these magic tanks. And they come across a woman who is trying to create the Xanathar armor to conquer neighboring kingdoms. And if you remember from the previous series, Xanathar was the dragon beast that used Copy Rezo's body to be reborn and was defeated. So what I did not like is there was a lot of talk about Xanathar and how powerful he was, and at the end of the first season they actually have a fight with Xanathar, but throughout the entire thing, no mention was given to the fact that they had actually fought Xanathar before and that they had defeated him. Nothing whatsoever. So that was something I didn't like, especially coming from watching the original series and that having been so influential on my decision to pick this up. Why would you leave something out like that? That's pretty much a trend about the whole series, is there are little bits of information that lead back to the original 3 series, but it's almost like you didn't have to watch them to know what's going on. They had little bits of information like Zelos and Rezo, and the fact that Lena had destroyed Rezo and Shabernado in the first series, and a little bit about Gov and Fabrizzo, but the part about Gov and Fabrizzo was at the end of the second season. Nothing throughout the whole first season. Which is sort of depressing, because the way I would look at it is this should just pick up from where the Slayers Try left off and just elevate from there. And it did pick up from where Slayers Try left off, but it really didn't elevate, it sort of just progressed. So of the 2 seasons, the first season is definitely a foundation for the second season, Slayers Evolution. And that is where all the action and Slayers feel that we all know and love is. So the plot behind the second season is Lena and the gang are trying to find the Hellmaster's jar, which has Rezo's soul in it, for two purposes. One, so Pagoda can resurrect Rezo and release his kingdom, which is called Tal Farashia, from the seal that Rezo had put on it. And two, so Zelgadis can find Rezo to try and change his body back to human. So, midway through the season, they find the Hellmaster's jar and begin the process of heading back to Tal Farashia to release him. Along the way, Zelgadis finds out that he cannot be turned back to human, and it is a very emotional scene, and probably one of the top emotional scenes for the entire franchise of Slayers is Zelgadis confronting Rezo's soul in the jar about him not being able to become human again, and it's a fantastic scene. It's at this point we learn, and I'm going to stop here because this is going to be a very big spoiler, so pause the video, stop the video, leave the video, whatever you're going to do to not be spoiled. But it's at this point we learn that Rezo actually put the virus in place in Tal Farashia just so he'd be able to come in and freeze up the kingdom so he could find a body that he could put his soul into so he'd be able to see. Just like the first season, Rezo is back with his yearning to see and screwing everybody around. So the way I felt was this was one of the most dramatic reveals, like plot twists for the franchise ever. You know, sort of akin to like a Death Note scene where all of a sudden something happened that you didn't even imagine could happen, and it was just like... But from there, the plot progresses just as you would imagine. Things go on, Zelos makes an appearance, Lena is Lena, and at the end of the series, they are once again fighting Rezo and Shabernegdo combined. Just like the end of the first season. So when it comes to my conclusion about the plot, the first season was a little weak. The second season was very good. Overall, it had that Slayers feel. I would have liked to have seen a little more to it, but what can you do? So let's briefly talk about the animation for the series. It looks fantastic. I mean, it was done 11 years after the original series, so you would expect it to look good, and it does. Beautiful, beautiful animation, and the crew has never looked so good. For me, I am a fan of the original series because of the hand-drawn 90s feel that I love so much, but newer fans, older fans, you'll all enjoy the way that this looks because it was done so well. So let's take a minute to talk about the dub, which is a very important thing for a lot of anime viewers, myself included. I was very happy to see that they had brought back, Crispin Freeman to do Zelgadis, and all the main four, Lena, Gowry, Emilia, Zelgadis, they all came back to reprise their roles as their characters, and it couldn't have been done any other way. Could you imagine watching the first 3 seasons and falling in love with all the characters just to be so excited to watch the brand new season and find out that they replaced half the cast? No. Since it is 11 years later, you should go into it expecting the characters to sound a little bit different because it's 11 years later. Zelgadis and Emilia sound exactly the same because Crispin Freeman is the boss. But you can tell that the voice actress who plays Lena and the voice actor who plays Gowry have aged a bit, and their voices can't really hit the same notes that they were able to in the original run of the show. But nevertheless, you can't complain because of the fact that they did bring them back. And so for that, I thank Funimation and the actors themselves, who did a great service to the community to come back and do this show when they clearly did not have to. Aside from them, they were the only ones that had come back to reprise their role. The voice actor who played Zelos did not come back, and that was probably one of the most depressing things for me to watch because the original Zelos sounded fantastic. And after 3 seasons of watching him, you get the voice stuck in your head, and to have somebody come in and try and fill those shoes didn't work for me, and his voice sounded a bit dry compared to the original Zelos. But aside from that, the dub was fantastic, and really no complaints there. So for my overall conclusion of the Slayers Revolution and Evolution are, if you were a fan of the original series, this is a no-brainer. You have got to pick this up and watch it. If you were not a fan of the original series, these 2 seasons take a little bit of a different aspect to the show, just with the same characters. But you might actually like this one more than the original 3 because it is different. They do place a little more emphasis on romance in a few episodes. Personally, I didn't think it was as comedic. But the storyline is good, and you would enjoy it. So I would have to say, overall, good show. Not as good as the original, but if you were a fan, then it is a definite must-watch. Well, that's it for my review. It wasn't really scripted. If you want to see my script, there's my script, and that was the intro. I'll never script things until someone yells at me. So if you didn't like this review, yell at me in the comments, and maybe I'll write a script. But aside from that, thanks for watching, guys. Please like the video. Put comments down there. Like I said, I always like to talk to you guys, and it helps me to make my videos better, to know what's on your mind. And if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. It makes me know that what I'm doing is appreciated. But thanks a lot, guys.